Run, river, run, run through the hills. Run, river, run to the sea. Run, river, run to your place beneath the sun. Run, river, run over me.
Hi, this is Jan Lewis. Welcome to be my guest today. We have James Nicola with us, our resident, I would say resident poet. And he's still in New York City, and he's got a new book out, and it is called Natural Tendencies. Now, before you decide, like, what the heck does he mean by that? He's going to tell you all about it. Welcome back, James.
Thank you. Nice to be here, Jan.
Now, this is going to be out when?
Next month, July. If you're getting this online in years from now, July 2023. So by the end of July 2023, yep. You can order it by emailing me or looking up my website online or the Cervena Barva Press, Cervena Barva, new word, B-A-R-V-A Press.
That's and if you send me a copy, I will get it over to the brand new Upton Library.
That's wonderful.
You can find it over there, because
yes.
I was telling James, it's gorgeous over there.
Well, what I might do is visit my friends in Woonsocket and come on an off day and drop one off for you and just go to the record store across the street because they're closed on Mondays. But I love coming to Upton because it's historic New England. It's wonderful. I just found, I don't know which house it is, but I saw a picture of it in a book. Upton is where the first home for mentally challenged people was during the time of Paul Revere.
Where?
1700s. I don't know exactly what the address is, but Esther Forbes writes about it in her book that won the Pulitzer Prize, Paul Revere and the times he lived in.
Here?
And it was Upton, Mass., which was incorporated in 1732 or something like that, so it makes sense. It was here. And somehow it was written in that history book. But in the 1700s was the first home and it looked like it was one of those big Queen Anne or big mansions that was converted, big house. And so I wonder if that building.
Do you remember the color?
No, because it was black and white, and the book was from the 70s.
We don't have a whole lot of, except you want to call the yuppie mansions.
But I mean, for the 70s, it could be that it's not.
Yeah.
I mean, not mansion, but just big house. But it's also, those Queen Anne's and those mansard roofs. That was 1800s. So 17.
Those would be Victorian more with the.
Right, would have been later. So I'm wondering if the house is still here. I gotta look this up.
Her name is Forbes.
Esther Forbes, Pulitzer Prize-winning historian from Worcester, Mass. One of the Worcester.
She's still with us?
No. This book was 1940 something. The Paul Revere book. Right. But my father, who taught at Clark University, which is how I got to be born in Worcester, he knew her.
Esther Forbes.
Esther Forbes.
Your father went to Clark?
He wrote Johnny. No, he taught at Clark. He wrote Johnny Tremaine. Remember the Johnny Tremaine TV series?
I had to read at school.
That's Esther Forbes. That was her young adult novel.
Wait a minute. Your father taught at Clark.
Clark University.
What year was he there?
57 or 6 till 74, something like that.
My grandfather graduated in 1908. No, they missed each other.
Yeah, no, but great. Oh, so he probably saw Freud speak. In Freud spoke at Clark University.
Oh, he was on the debate team. Grandpa was one of these. He majored in economics. Oh,
wonderful.
God. Now, first of all,
enough about other people.
He gave me a copy of Natural Tendencies. Oh, first of all, where did you get the instigation for that title?
The title, well, I had a different working title. They're all nature poems, but they're nature poems with a certain reverence. And I mean, I didn't put here in my packet of poems the dedication, but it's really of religious or spiritual reverence for all things natural. Hence, natural tendencies. You tend toward loving or revering or honoring or taking it with you nature. And the rituals of nature were taking the tree inside at winter for the solstice, that became the Christmas tree, or palm fronds inside during spring, that became Palm Sunday. But they were doing it before Palm Sunday, and they did it in London before there was any kind of Palm Sunday, called Wilding, where to celebrate the spring, you would take things of nature into the house to revere nature, to your home and whatnot. So hence, Natural Tendencies is not just reverence, but almost of a worshipful kind.
Read the dedication.
I don't have the dedication in front of me. You do.
You want me to read this?
That would be nice for you to read. That's why.
Okay. To those who love and revere nature, with all her mysteries and miracles, as they do their mother, a soulmate or God. For after all, is she all three? I love trees. You can lay there at the beach and look up at the trees, like I'm surrounded by forest up here.
Well, I'm going to have a tree poem coming up.
Oh, you are?
Yeah. So, So,
It's gonna be mine.
this is, the first poem I'm going to read is called The Ceiling Slatherers.
Okay, first page.
And there's before parts 1, 2, and 3, there's 3 parts to the book, but this is sort of the preface to the entire volume, The Ceiling Slatherers. When you go to Central Park, lie down on some lawn or bench a while. Check out the ceiling. All the cherubs of the Renaissance surpassed. Not two-dimensional, but 4. Michelangelo himself, just a little bit jealous.
That is, when did you write it?
10 years ago, maybe 8 years ago, something like that.
And now
Yeah.
you're putting it.
Yeah, and it's been published before. Most of these poems have been published in literary journals, and then I compile the poems that have been published into it.
Were you always fascinated by trees? Because like I was. I used to climb
Yeah.
them.
Oh, I love trees. And
Oh.
by the way, oh God, talk about another author again. The Overstory by Richard Powers, a novel that won the Pulitzer Prize 3 or so years ago. The Overstory is the story of the trees above, and you got to. That is the great American novel since Ragtime in the last 30 years. It is so, hence trees. Part 1 is there's 3 parts to the book. Part 1 is called Walkways and Waterways.
Okay.
And this is about taking a walk.
Is it the one? Remember when we came? Okay.
Everything I'm going to go in order now with what you
All
have
right.
also, so you can follow along if you wish. And this is a true story. Remember when we came across the spider web and paused to note the way it glistened and was perfectly comprised? But shy in its magnificence, it grew to be unseen, to better catch the fly and bug, to better fill its function. You quietly explained to me, inveighing not to touch, for I was young and eager then, but clearly had so much to learn, and vanished as the sun dipped. Also on that hike, a heron in his majesty posed on the dam, the cock of the walk, so to speak, then danced a show-stopping ballet when he saw us regarding him, flapped, and flew away. I wondered, were there people too as private and as great in some lost cave or on our block, although unsung as yet? And then you paused and bade me pause to note the purpling view as naturally as any bird or spiderweb would do.
I wish you would read these to children. Are you?
I love to read to children.
Are you doing this though, like at libraries in all?
No, but I'm going to be working on getting more and more dates. Hence, I can send when this gets recorded and put on YouTube. I can send them a link to this reading and say, "Oh, come and do stuff in the
The way
book."
he writes, the way he expresses himself, it just grabs me my attention. I grew up with a mother who read to me far beyond I could read, and she would be the frog.
Yeah.
She would be all these things.
Wonderful.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Did you grow up with them? I date myself. The Mother West Wind, Thornton Burgess.
No. I mean, is that book collection or something? Or, yeah,
It's called the Mother West Wind stories.
Yeah.
They had Grandfather Frog,
Oh, wonderful.
Jimmy Squirrel,
Oh.
Jimmy Skunk.
Great. I did have Christopher Robin's Playroom as a kid.
Okay,
growing
you had
up.
that one. Okay.
Yeah, I had because growing up, I gave it. I wish I kept it though. It was a wonderful old hardcover with illustrations. And that heron, by the way, I just saw a heron blue heron this morning.
Where?
Going from Manchester, Connecticut, where my brother lives. I went for my walk
Yeah.
early, at 6:00, and there's a great blue heron.
You were walking at 6 o'clock.
No, I love going for a walk. Monday's a walking day.
You're a morning guy, right?
Morning, terrible. So I'm a director, not an actor, historically in the theater. Actors mean not a morning person. Director, I was a morning person also.
Yeah. You wouldn't catch me out.
So remember, the title of part 1 was Walkways and Waterways. This is a waterway poem. Now I remember, I'll just gloss this briefly, but when Shirley MacLaine was on the Donahue Show once years ago, and talking about the line that some worshippers was and then it was asked, "What, you mean you are God?" All it means is that the force of God or the divineness of God runs through all of us like rivers or streams or water vapor in the air, etc.
She was in the New Age, right?
That kind of New Age philosophy.
Yeah.
She was asked what it meant, and she explained it so beautifully. And I'm young, I'm 21, not just, oh, well, that's interesting, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So this is called, and I'll mention Shirley MacLaine, who won the Oscar for Terms of Endearment for Best Actress, but wasn't around since the late 40s. The Process of Water. When Shirley MacLaine, or someone like that, says she is, or rather has, God in her, or something like that, it means she is as a drop, dropped on the ocean, there being, of course, many other drops. A seas aloof from neither river nor rain, but welcomes and salts all drop by drop, till we are born, evaporate, condense with experience, then fall and return as rain. And everyone and everything, alive or once alive or soon alive, is as a drop in that water process, to be bathed in or drunk by the eternal thirst of earth, of us, of the ocean god, or someone, somewhere, somewhat, I think, like that.
Would you call yours, well, not a haiku? What would you call it?
This particular one, the way it lies on the page with short lines, you might call it minimalistic. But it's also a philoso or theo poem. That is, it has a perhaps spiritual, perhaps theological, perhaps philosophical.
You combine different
and what is it when water evaporates? Is that biology? No, it's physics and chemistry. The notion of comparing life, our lives, to what water does, and the relationship of things that feed the sea and the sea feeds are things that feed us, and then it comes back as rain, which are tears when you die. We come back as rain, just as the water that's in the ocean evaporates and comes back as rain and goes
You
back.
have a way of combining the different types of
And those three things, it's the three stanzas, the three different ways. Shirley MacLaine, New Age philosophy, to the bio, dome, physics, whatever of it, to us, and how we go on the rest of the day sort of revering. Remember that I'm sure you heard it once in science class, everybody out there, that we are, what, 3/4 water? What's with that?
I know.
But we grew up thousands of years as the Homo sapiens not knowing that.
Yeah.
And then we find out, wow, we're really connected to the seas and the oceans and the rivers more. We're,
We're
the
talking
water.
with James Nicola,
Yeah.
and he is back with us. He's a poet. How can they get in touch with you, James?
You can email me. The best is nicolajamesb@juno.com, JUNO.com, and Nicola is just NICOLAB @juno.com.
Would you suggest that they go to Amazon for your books, or
Email me or go to my website to see the best way,
all right.
and directly to the publisher. Not all my books. I have 2 published in India. They don't come through Amazon, but they do have dealers that ship them out from not just India. They'll come from closer.
are they
etc.
over in Britain, by any chance? Scotland? Britain and Scotland at all?
What?
Your poems. You said they were over in India. Oh, these are the publishers.
The publishers of 2 of my books are in India.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, and but I do have poems published in the UK and Ireland and France and Salzburg,
Scotland.
Austria.
Don't forget Scotland.
Scotland. I don't know if I have a Scottish. I have a Welsh publisher.
that's
Not a publisher of my books, but a poetry
Okay.
one of them. Now I go to part 2.
Succulent.
The succulent, because it's a plant. Part 2 is called Flora and Fauna.
Yeah.
And flora are plants, and fauna are animals.
Yeah.
So it's about plants and animals. And here are 2 short ones about plants. This is called the succulent. Remember, a succulent is like yucca or cactuses or even a sansevieria plant, your sword plant at home, and the rubber tree. Those are all succulents.
Are those the ones that go like this, open up as...
There are succulents that do that. I don't know what they're called. Or this is the prayer plant does that.
Remember in the Addams Family? She would...
Oh.
It was this big thing, I think.
Yeah, I think they used like a yucca plant to
A
be
yucca
the
plant,
base
yeah.
of that, right? And then they played with it. But it has leathery leaves that are hard
Yeah.
because it doesn't get a lot of water.
Yeah, very leathery.
But it still survives. Yeah, they're all the rubber tree,
Thick.
the succulent, they're all rubber, and hence the rubber tree is
Yeah.
the one that we have as a house plant. That's a succulent. So this is called the succulent. The succulent is truculent. In desert rocks it grows. Nor wind nor drought can knock it out. It suffers blows and blows, yet still it stands in drifting sands. To what secret it owes its leathern flower and lasting power, no one really knows.
They go on forever.
They go on. And they propagate. But that's like people. If you know a person who's a succulent, they get nothing and they thrive. They get no water, no nourishment, no help, and they thrive.
James, where are you? You're not going to be appearing around here, but where have you been?
Oh, if you come to Manhattan in New York, I'm going to give a little plug to our writers' circle at my local library branch in Hell's Kitchen, and that's usually the second and fourth Saturdays of the month. From 1 to 3, and come there and come hear some poetry or some prose, and or bring something to share and be ready to write.
Well, don't forget, we're on YouTube, so we're all over the world. So that's why he's talking to you about New York City.
And we've had people from every continent except Antarctica. We've even had from us except Antarctica. So we call it the International Writers Roundtable because we've had people from Africa, Europe, Asia, and South America.
So besides being in person, do you do the Zoom for people out of the country?
We can't. We did, but we don't anymore.
You don't
our branch, we do it live.
Okay.
So that's when you visit Manhattan, come by.
Yes.
But check online to confirm, because like this month we switched the dates because I had to be here for this recording.
Yes.
The third, so I came early. Another tree poem, and this is again a brief one. Pine, but it's really about a really big pine that you have to go like this.
And they
pine
smell
tree.
wonderful.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, they're more than that. Pine. What makes the pine pine? Why does he even care? Of toil and sin he's unaware, and has no use for bread and wine, but only soil and sun and rain and air. Of course, the peaceful pine well knows he'll never reach the heights of man, yet he grows so much taller than we can.
Is it true that you could tell, James, the true age of a tree by, what was it, reading the rings?
Counting the rings, yeah. No, and that's confirmed in that novel, the Overstory, which I highly recommend.
Yeah, but you have to cut him out to see them.
That's right. So you can tell, but you might. I don't think you can do it with a branch. It's when you knock the tree down, you find out.
Yeah. We had one that was about ready to hit our house or our neighbors.
And there are many redwoods still older than this country. And some trees last 1,000 years.
Oh, this tree was, I don't know, well over 100 maybe?
Yeah.
It was dead.
And, yeah. No, so it's time. Yeah. Right. Then the fauna part about an animal, this is about the geese.
Rachel Carson, remember her?
Now, Rachel Carson, you might want to remind our audience of Rachel Carson, was the author of The Silent Spring and sort of the first one to spearhead the conservationist ecology movement back in the early 60s with her book, The Silent Spring, which is a must-read for everyone. And then we in school learned the phrase DDT from that book. She wrote that in 1963, but by the time I'm in 5th grade, I'm a published conservationist. I had an editorial published at age 10 in the Worcester Telegram and Gazette about saving the marshes. 5th grade, they published it in the Telegram and Gazette in Worcester. Yeah, I'm 9 or 10. I think I was 10. I think it was spring. We went to the Cape Cod National Seashore.
Oh, yeah.
We had a great nature teacher that came, and we got to save these marshes. This is Rachel Carson. But it's not about Rachel Carson. That's just the title. Rachel Carson. Does a V of 5 or 4 make a gaggle anymore? What about a band of 3? Do they even make a V? Today I saw a pair of geese, glistening as ambergris, taking pause, if not delight, from their myriad miles of flight, washed up on the Hudson shore, wishing they were 3 or 4.
That's beautiful. What, Hudson, Mass, or New York?
I saw in the Hudson the 2 geese. I grew up seeing gaggles of geese
in Hudson, Mass.
In Holden, Massachusetts. We could, as a kid, we could look up in the sky and see not just 12, but 2 dozen of V's of 2 dozen when we were kids.
Was it when they were going down
south or north? Right, they would go right over my house, spring and fall both, and we could look up and. But then when I moved to New York, I noticed I never see a huge V.
And they make that noise.
Honk, 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 right, and the group honks.
They are cool, but over here in our Upton beach, we've had a little problem with poop poop.
They do poop poop. You got to tell them not to.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
we had a couple swans. They took off. They probably got sick of the geese.
Yeah,
but geese are afraid of them.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No geese. Yeah. No. Right. Birds. I've been noticing we have goslings just born at my pier where I go jogging in New York, and we have 2 geese, Gordy and Gertie, and I wrote an article about them. And then she disappeared for a while, Gertie, and I go, "What's wrong, Gordon?" And they looked at me as if to talk to me, and I go, "Oh, she's having babies? So she's underneath on the nest?" Was a telepath. How do I know? 5 weeks later, we see the babies.
The little ones.
We've seen the little ones.
They're so cute.
Oh my gosh.
Have you seen the over in Boston? You probably have the. What's that? There's duck boats, but I'm talking about that Mama Duck statue with the ducks behind her.
Oh yes, no, I've seen that. Yeah.
Did somebody take her or a duck?
I don't think so. I don't know. I think it's a mother goose, though, isn't it? Isn't it a mother goose?
I don't know. We have a neighbor who's selling duck eggs.
Oh yeah. No, they're like this big.
Are they good?
I don't know. I haven't had them.
I had one.
But yeah.
Probably a lot bigger than the egg we had.
About double the size of, and not as big as an ostrich. Ostriches.
So that would mean that the yolk is bigger than what we usually eat, right?
I don't know about the balance between yolk and white.
We're talking with James Nicola, and he is our poet. And he has got a new book out, and it is called Natural Tendencies. It's like about nature, and it's coming out next month in July. And believe me, we'll get that over to the Upton Library at the dedicated authors section. Wait, now he has bright. What's this?
This is now part 3. So remember, part 1 was walkways and waterways. Part 2, flora and fauna. Part 3 is spirit and sky. So it's that.
Okay.
And thinking something.
Bright days.
The force be with you. This is a short one called Bright Days.
Okay.
Bright days I see clearer, but clear nights farther.
I can see that happening. I can just see it. Your poems make a person almost like a movie.
Right. But you think of that, and that's really true.
Yeah.
When the day is bright, you can see the clouds better.
Yeah.
But when the night is bright, you can see the stars.
Also, you can see life flight. From the hospital, the red. If it's red, the red light.
Right. Oh, and you can see over the horizon lights coming up from a building or a city over things like that.
Well, you're up so doggone early. You probably see the
other things you see at night. Yeah. And then this is also in that section, Spirit and Sky, and it's a little bit of the spirit.
This is the last one.
The last one of the batch. Though I have another one if you have more time, but if you can talk about other stuff, that's fine. I mean, I brought a printout of the whole collection in case it's time to kill, because I never know how long we're going to chat and how long the poems are going to take, but I go, just bring them all. Patronage. Now, way back when, and I remember hearing this, some famous literary critic said, the modern world sort of really started in the late Middle Ages, when the troubadours and trouvères would have love poems to their love, their maiden or whatever, or a married woman too, like in Camelot, and say, "I love you more than God," or things like that, which no one could have said for the first 1,000 years of certainly Christianity. That would have been blasphemy. But all of a sudden, you have love that's challenging the love of the divine. At least in words. I love you more than myself, I love you. Not that they said it in bad poetry, they didn't say it that simply, but they revered their love. So this is called, and it's called patronage, the knight so Lancelot to Guinevere would have been patronage to, whether it's the nobleman you owe, or the lady that you're going to, I will, in jousting they would bow to the queen, or the lady so-and-so, or countess so-and-so, and whatnot. But this is using that to call this poem called patronage. Patronage. Whatever troubadour first sang that he loved her more than his god or king started everything. His name's not etched in stone, or a declaration of independence, or anything like that, for he wrote airs for the air, and stood beneath her tower. I still hear him there in a quiet hour, when a soft breeze starts to come at sunset or sunrise, and I hear the distant strum of a cracked lyre in the breeze, and see colors in the sky like a window cracked a ways by a maid who would be free, and I fall down on my knees.
Did you say you had nephews, nieces?
I have a nephew, yeah.
What's he think of your poetry?
He goes like this.
That's it?
I have one that's getting republished too, that called Nephew and Cat. It's and it was inspired by my nephew. It's not in this Natural Tendencies one, although I do have other cat poems in here. It's about his relationship with his cat. I don't know the whole thing by heart, although I used to.
You have a cat too.
I don't in New York. Oh, heaven for... I grew up with a cat, though.
You keep him home. You don't have to let him out in the New York streets.
Right, right.
That would be dumb.
Right, no, but no, I don't have...
No.
But I could do a dog poem. I have a band of... This would be cute. The Changing of the Birds. This is about a real poem, a real dog. A friend of mine's Cocker Spaniel called Frodo.
Okay.
And if you ever... I'm not Cocker, Yorkie. Yorkie.
Yeah.
And Frodo was named, of course, for the Tolkien, if you have time for another one.
Yep.
But this is about another animal that's a pet.
Mm-hmm.
Frodo and me. Frodo marries Yorkie. His race, bred as ratters, taught me a game where I turn into the Colossus of Rhodes. Come suddenly into slow motion life, looming and turning and barring and wreaking all sorts of meaningful and meaningless excitement. And he taught me that complacency's a corner of retreat where a nose is nestled and eyes are closed to survive the approach of a vanquishing, gentle giant. By hiding through octopus reasoning, which doesn't work, by reassuring, I am obeying, sir, being a ratter, or by diverting my onslaught with laughter, making me cradle what I've conquered, cuddle what I've caught. You've invented games too, like contests and wars, but Frodo and I both know he's playing, and has yet, though chromosomes press him, to kill a rat.
There you have it.
So it's a true game I used to play with Frodo, my friend's Yorkie. You gotta go through the legs. And no, I can't. And just hide in the corner. And then I just cuddle him and stuff like that.
That's our James Nicola.
Yeah.
There you have him.
But-
He'll be back, too. You better believe it. Don't forget his book, Natural Tendencies. Okay, James Nicola. James, are you planning on being out here again to give an appearance?
I don't have an appearance scheduled yet, so nothing I can announce, but I'll keep you posted next time.
Yes,
Right,
we want to
right.
get him back this way.
Right, that would be
Yeah,
lovely.
definitely. You've been over to Tatnuck, I know, in Westboro.
Oh, sure. you
Oh,
bet.
yeah. We got him. Did you know there's a lot of indies open up in Worcester?
Independent bookstores and whatnot?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, they'd love to have you. I interviewed a couple who have opened it up there, and boy, I'm sending people up there. It's called Tide Pool.
Tide Pool.
I think
Wonderful.
you'd really like it. They'd love to have you.
Wonderful.
Oh, yeah. No, who wouldn't?
Oh, you're too nice.
You remind
Thank
me
you.
so much, like I told you, I grew up with very outgoing and, I can't explain it, parents. And Dad loved radio, Mom loved stage. And when I see you, when you read, I can see both of my parents. My father, he even looks a little like my dad.
Oh, no.
That's a compliment. And then, but my father would actually read like you do and express it. And of course, my mom, So I mean, how was I going to get away from that? I mean, but I loved it. Dad and I would act out Broadway plays in his den at home.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh God!
Right.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So he was a natural. And don't forget, for those that you could find. Actually, we never did do one about my book Playing the Audience, which is my nonfiction book,
Yeah.
but about that theatrical technique of really put the image over there, put the sound over there, put the connective, even the logic. In poetry, it's great for actors to study poetry, because you got to put the logic of a sentence and a stanza and or out there to
Were your
have them.
parents were they like this at all?
No. They were both teachers, professor and a teacher.
Yeah,
And so they were
so-
up in front of a crowd and all that, but they didn't. And my mom in college did do college play at Russell Sage. She played Rochester. She kept
All
saying
right.
she played.
So it is in the blood somewhere there.
And my father was a musician, would taught himself the piano.
My grandfather that
So-
went to Clark,
Yeah.
he was on stage too.
Yeah.
So I guess I couldn't escape it. All right, we're going to get you back on. You got the book coming out next month, Natural Tendencies, okay?
In July
and tell them
of
again
23.
how they can reach you.
Best way is nicolajamesb@juno.com. But you can see what I'm up to with the website. Just go to James B. Nicola and poetry. It'll come up. It's a Google site, one word, GOOGLESITES. Just type that and my name, and it'll come up, and I'll try to keep
And
that
when I
updated
get the
for
book
you.
in the mail, I will bring it over to the Upton Library. I know people are watching this from all over the world. Once we're on YouTube, that's it. You're everywhere. So are you going to go back to New York City today?
No, not till Wednesday morning.
Wednesday.
We'll go. Yeah.
Right, okay.
Or Wednesday, depending on the rain.
Long
That's what
drive,
happens.
my friend.
Yeah, but not from. I was used to drive from Holden, and now I'm driving from near Hartford, so it's a little less. So
Really? Yeah, I
it's
lived
not
in
too bad.
Connecticut. New York
Yeah.
was right on the line. We were near Greenwich and New Canaan.
Oh, that's right there.
Right there.
yeah.
Thanks for being with us.
My delight. Thank you for having me, Jen.
You're
Remember,
welcome. You'll be
natural
back.
tendencies. I'll be
We'll
back.
see you next time. Be my guest.
Riding on a shooting star, heading out toward a dream. Tomorrow's even closer than it seems.